Today's Daf Yomi is Sanhedrin Kuf Sanhedrin 105. We're going to start in the bottom of Kuf Daled on the base 104b, 3 lines from the bottom. Today's Daf is dedicated for a Shmir for the Chayalim, that's all for the Shvuyim, Yeshua for Am Yisrael on this eighth Torah. Daf Yomi tells us, and the Mishnah had said that there were 3 kings and 4 Ajotos with no share in the world to come. However, comes along the Dorshe Rishumos, 3 lines from the bottom on 104b. Dorshe means to expound, and Rishumos, Rashi says it's verses based upon a verse from Daniel, and they said that everybody has a share in the world to come. Even those 3 kings who our Mishnah said don't have a share. Dorshe Rishumos, Hayuomim Kuan Ba'im Wolamaba. Everybody comes into the world to come, as it says, Li Gilad, Li Menashe. Where Gemara is going to go and cite a verse, and then we're going to expound at the verse from Tehillim. Li Gilad, Li Menashe, Ma'oz Roshi Yehuda. Mechokekei Moab, Thi al Adom Eshlich Nali, Alai Falashes Hisroai. So how do we explain this? Li Gilad, that refers to Achav. Achav Shenafal Baramot Gilad. He fell in the mountains of Gilad. Menashe, it refers to Menashe. Kamash Ma'o, Menashe is to me, he has a share. Ephraim, Ma'oz Roshi. Ephraim is the head, the strength of my head. The Yerubim. First, the Yerubim, the Kaasi, me Ephraim. He came from Ephraim Yehuda Mechokekei. That refers to Achitofel. The Kaasi, he came from the tribe of Judah. The Kaasi Yehuda, because he was advisor to David. Moab Steer Rochti. The pot of Moab was I bathed in the pot of Moab. This refers to Gechazi. Shalakal Iske Rechitza. Gechazi is the one who, after Elisha gave advice to Naaman and said, I don't need your money for curing you, Gechazi went and said, yeah, he wants the money, and he took it and didn't tell Elisha. So he was struck down for the Iske Rechitza. Al Adom Eshlich Nali. That refers to Doeg Adomi, who gave the advice to Shaul to kill Nov, city of Nov. Halai Falashes Israeli. Amru Malach Yashar Safnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The angel said before God, Ribbon Shalom, and Miavo David Shahara against Pushti, Vahorishas Panecha. Let's say David will come, kill the Philistines. Vahorishas Panecha Gat, and he gave your children Gat. Mata Selo. What are you going to do on his behalf? Because you're taking Doeg Hadomi into the world to come. So Ribbon Shalom answers, Amar and Alayla Sosan Ram tells that it's my job to make them friends with each other. In the world to come, David and Doeg will be friends. Madua Shovava Amazeh Yerushalayim. So the pasuk says, Madua Shova Amazeh Yerushalayim Meshuva Nitzachas. So this is from Jeremiah, this verse. So Amarav, so Rav says that what does this mean? Meshuva Nitzachas. Shuva Nitzachas, Yeshiva Knesset Yisrael and Navi. And the Jewish people always have a smart answer back to the prophet. Amarav Navi Yisrael. The prophet said to the Jewish people, and this is referring to the prophet Zechariah, he says, Chizru b'tshuva, repent. And he says, Avosechem shachatu heichanim, your fathers who sinned, where'd they end up? They died. Don't end up like them. Amar Lahan, so the Jewish people had a smart response. Then he said in the V'yachem shalochatu heichanim, where are your prophets who didn't sin? They're also dead, as it says, Avosechem ayehem v'anavim ha'olam Yechyu. Will the prophets live forever? Amar Lahan, Chizru v'hodu. Shenemar, he says, repent and admit to God. It says, Ach devarai v'chukai asher tiviti es avdi aniviyim. So the Jewish people in the end were Chazru v'hodu. In the end, they returned and they confessed and they admitted to the words of the prophet. Shmuel says, Bo asar b'nei Adam v'yashu lefanam. 10 men came and sat down before the prophet Zechariah. Amar and chazer b'tshuva. He said, repent. Amar lo evet shemachorabo v'isha shagar shabala kum yesh zel kum. Meaning to say, a woman who got divorced or a slave who was sold, can the original husband or master say anything to these people? No, they're no longer in their world. So Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu and Navi, so too God says to Navi, meaning to say, the Jewish people said, God can't tell us what to do anymore. We've changed. We're no longer. God sold us off to Nebuchadnezzar. So God says to the prophet, "Lecha morla and eza sefer krisut imchem asher shalachtiya." Where is your bill of divorce that you have with you that I sent you away? I didn't give you a bill of divorce. O me, minoshai asher mechrati eschem. And who is the creditor? Is there a creditor asher mecharati eschem, to whom I sold you? No, I didn't do it to them. They were sold off on their own sins. And meaning to say you did it yourself. I didn't send you off, so you're still responsible. David, what does it say in the verse? David Avdi, David my servant, but it also says in the verse Nebuchadnezzar Avdi, meaning to say what's the big deal to be called God's servant? Even Nebuchadnezzar was called a servant. So Galov Yodu of name Misha Amar Vayolam Shatid Yisrael Omar Kach. The Jewish people, God knew that Jewish people were going to claim that they were sold off. Therefore, God came along and called Nebuchadnezzar a slave to teach us Evet Shekana Nechasem, Evet Lami Nechasem Lami. To teach us a slave who acquires Nechasim, the slave is to whom and the Nechasim is to whom, meaning to say that the Jewish people, even though they were sold to Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar was a servant to God, so they still were with God. It says, Va'olah ruchachem hayo osiyeh. Oh, good morning, Jeff. It says, Va'olah ruchachem hayo osiyeh asher atem omrim niyeh kegayim mishpachot haaretz v'shareis eitz va'even chayaninu mashem olkechem and we'll be out chazakah b'zin to yav v'chem hashfucha and mochalechem. So it says in the verse, and this actually, it's appropriate that Jeff Mendelson walks in now because Jeff yesterday, take the punishment and then you'll get the redemption. We're in 105a. Well, this is exactly what the Jewish people were, it's what the Gemara is going to ask because it says it goes up on your spirits, meaning to say that you'll say, well, be like the nations of the world to serve a tree or a stone. I swear that I will redeem you, meaning to say, that after you will be in exile, I'll redeem you. So Amar Nachman Kol Ki Arisva Lirsach Rachman Alanu for Rukun. So let God be angry at us and then redeem us. So yeah, give us that already, which is kind of like what Jeff said yesterday. And then it says in the verse in Yeshayahu, V'Yisrael Mishpat Elokav Yoreinu. Amar Rav Barachana Amar Navi Israel Chizru B'Tshuva. The prophet says, repent. Amar Einad Yechon. It's our shalai, but we can't repent. Our evil inclinations ruling over us. Amram Yisru Yitzrechem. They said, so he said, get rid of your Yetzer. Amrlo, they responded back to the prophet, El Kav Yorenu. Let God show us how to get rid of the Yetzer Hara. Okay, so now we finished the story of the three kings who, according to the Mishnah, have no share in the world to come, even though according to the Dorsha Rishumas, they have a share. Now we go up to the four Idiotos towards the bottom of 105a. Arba Idiotos, who are the four commoners of no share? Bilam, Doeg, Achitofel, and Gechazi. So today we're going to focus on Bilam. What is the name? Bilam below Am. And he was not part of Am Yisrael. Davar Acher, Bilam Sheboa Am, that he got the people all mixed up by telling them to sin with Moabite women. Ben Beor Shebal Beer, that he had relations with his donkey. Dana Hu Baor Hu Kusham Rashatayim Hu Lavan Arami. The Gemara says that Baor is the same as Kusham Rashatayim and is the same as Lavan Arami. Some say that this is just symbolic. It doesn't mean they're really the same person. Baor Shabal Beir. Why is he called Baor? Because he was with his donkey. Kusham Rashatayim David Shtever Shayos B'Yisrael. That he did two terrible things to Jewish people. Achas b'mei Yaakov, achas b'mei Shvot HaShoftim. One in the time of Jacob, and one in the time of the judges. That's where he was the king enslaving the Jewish people. Mashmo, his real name was Lavan Aram. Shmo. Ksiv ben Baor, Ksiv beno Baor. So is the son of Baor, or is he? Or is it also say? It also says in the verse it calls him beno Baor. It says Bilam beno Baor. So which is he? Amar Rabbi Yochanan Aviv beno Huo ben Avias. His father was actually his son to him in prophecy. And Bilam was a greater prophet than his father. So the Gemara says, Bilam mudo asi alma da asi hashar goyim aprini asu. So it says Bilam, he doesn't come in the world. He doesn't have a share in the world to come. But all the other people from the nations of the world will have a share in the world to come. Meaning to say, these four people don't have a share. Bilam doesn't, but everybody else does. Masnisim money. Who's our Mishnah like that says the nations of the world have a share? It's like Rabbi Yoshui, the Tanya, Rabbi Lazar, Omer, Yeshuv Rishayim, L'Sha'ola, Kol Gayim, Shechachei Elo, Kim Yesh. So what does that mean? Yeshuv Rishayim, L'Sha'ola, Elo Pesha Yisrael. That refers to Posha Yisrael, the sinners of Israel. Kol Gayim, Shechachei Elo Kim. Now it refers to the Elo Posha of Dei Kochavim. Rabbi Eliezer, that Rabbi Eliezer is saying that these are the sinners who are idolaters, that they have no share in the world to come. So the Gemara says, "Amar Rabbi Yeshua v'chinemer b'chol goyim v'alo nemer elo kol goyim shecheolem." Means they all those who are forgetting God. Elo yeshuvu r'shayim l'shoah. When it means that the wicked ones will return to Shoah, who is that referring to? Manu kol goyim. So that refers to all the nations. Shecheolem, cholim shecheolem. Means they all those who are forgetting God. They're the ones who don't have a share, but the others do. Also Rasha Nathan Simon and also Bilam gave a sign himself. So there's a fundamental dispute whether the nations have a share in the world to come. Rabbi Eliezer says that they don't, and Rabbi Eliezer says they do. Excuse me, Rabbi Eliezer says they don't. Rabbi Yeshua says that the nations of the world will have a share in the world to come. And even Bilam, even that wicked one gave a sign to himself, as it states, the Mus Nafshi Mosi Sharim, meaning to say, Im tamus nafshi mosi shurim. If I die like the upright, then te'achrisi kamo, then my end will be with God. Otherwise, I'm going to go the rest of my people. I won't have a share in the world to come. Then it states in the verse, Vayochu ziknei Moav ziknei Binyan. The elders of Moab and the elders of Midian went towards Bilam. Tana Midian and Moab lo hayalem shalom. There's an old story. Midian and Moab, they didn't really have peace. They hated each other. They only got together to attack the Jewish people. Mashal shnei kolavim shayu be'eder. It's like two dogs in guarding a flock of sheep. They were rivals. A wolf came to attack one. The other dog said, if I don't help him, Ayom, today the wolf will kill him, tomorrow will kill me. The dogs combined to kill the wolf. That's like Midian and Moab were combined to attack the Jewish people. Amra Papa, Hainu de Amra Inchi. Here's what people say: Karkushta, Mishunra, Avdu Hilula, Mitarba, Devishgada. So this is what it means when we say in the verse that a weasel and a cat made a party from the tarba, the fat of the vishgada, of an unlucky mazel or unlucky kid. So then it says the next verse, the elders of Moab stayed with Bilam. But where'd the princes of Midian go? So the Gemara says, since he said, stay here tonight and I'll return the matter to you tomorrow, they said, they said, forget, he's not going to get a good answer because there's no father that hates his son. So Rav Sheshis, Nachman says, chutzpah, even towards heaven, is going to help. Originally it says, don't go with them. In the end, God allowed them to go. Rav Sheshis, chutzpah, like audacity, is a malkusa below taga, is a kingdom without a crown. It's a kingship without a crown. Because David says after Yoav killed Avner, he said he couldn't defeat Yoav yet because he says, I am soft and I'm an anointed king, but these people are harsh and tougher than me. I'm Rabbi Yochanan, Bilam was lame in one foot, as it says, Vayelach Shefi, and he walked with a limp. Shimshon b'shtei ragov. Shimshon is often held up as the paragon of might. We see it wasn't his physical might, because Shimshon was weak in two legs. It says, Shefifon alei orach. I know Shechek Kvesus. Bilam Suma Ba'achas Me'inam. Bilam was blind in one eye. Shenemar Shetuma Ayin Kosein Shetuma Ayin. Because it says he was closed in one eye. Kosein Ba'amaso. How did Bilam get his strength? He was a magician with his Amma, with his male member. Ma'abared Ravina Amar Shabal Asono. He had no. What did he do? He had relations with his donkey. Mandar Marcos. That's what the verse means. So, oh, did I skip? Kosim Amasuk. Ksiv Hacha Nofel V'Gavoy Einayim. Ksiv Hacha Minei Amad Nofel Amita. Ima Marzutra Makosim Be'Amaso. Marzutra says he used magic with his member. Ma'abared Ravina Amar Shabal Asono. No, it says when it says Nofel V'Gavoy Einayim, it means he had relations with his donkey. Mandam Kosim Masa Kedamar, like we just interpreted. Mandam Balas, no, Ksivacha Karashacha, Ksivhasam Bang Ragla Karashacha. So just like Bayal and Sisra, it says Karana Shachabim, and it refers to was Be'ila. So to here by the donkey it refers to Bia. So now it says Kufay on the base at the top. It says Bilam was Yodea Das Elyon. It says that Bilam knew the knowledge of the upper limit of God. The mother says, how could that be? He didn't even know the knowledge of his animal. Das Elyon Navi. Other you want to say he had knowledge of God. So the mother says, no, my das Amrilay. How do we know that he doesn't have knowledge of his animal? Because he said, my time rachapta susya. Because the princes of Moab, and the princes said to him, why aren't you driving? The elders of Moab said to him, why aren't you riding a horse? He says, no, I can't ride the horse because I sent my donkey into the pasture to graze. So then the donkey opened up its mouth and said, he said, but I've been your donkey. I'm right here. So Bilam said, no, Atina Ba'ama. No, I wasn't riding you. I was just using you to carry my bags. The donkey says, no, you rode on me. Bilam says, Akrai Ba'ama. No, it's just once in a while. So the donkey says, no, from many years. Not only that, he says, I sleep with you at night like your wife. So don't tell me you don't know me. The word askin could be a reference to Bia. So he was with the donkey. So what does it mean, Bilam? How does it mean he knows knowledge of God? He knew the exact moment that God himself was actually angry. I know the Kamerlo Navi Israel. This is why the prophet says to the Jewish people in Micha, Ami Zechorna Ma Ya'atz, Ami Zechorna Ma Ya'atz Balak Melch Moav, Uma Ana Oso Bilam Ben Beor, Meneshemaim Ala Gilgal Aman Das Tkos Hashem. So what does that mean? Ma Aman Das Tkos Hashem. So God said to the Jewish people, Israel, do not come at tzedakos asiti and look how many charities or righteous things I did for you. I never got angry those days during Bilam and Rasha. Because if I had gotten upset when Bilam was trying to curse you, they would have been wiped off. And I know the Karmel Bilam about. This is what Bilam says to Balak. How can I curse if God is not cursed? El Zoim. So what does that mean when it says Kel Zoim? That God judges every day. But how long is God angry for? Rega, a moment. As it says, Ki Rega Bapo Chayim Bertzono. If I say Malech Imi Baba Chadarecha Uskordo Atecha Babcha. So this is a reference to the. So this is. Hold on 1 second. This is a pasuk in Isaiah. Lech amigo, my people, come into your room, close your door behind you. Achi kemat, chaki kemat rega, ayavorzam. Wait a moment until the anger passes, the wrath of God passes. Emas rasach. When is God angry? B'tlas shayim. I say it's a moment within the first 3 hours. Ki chava karboa detanagul. When the rooster's mane turns white. Kol shata v'shata nami chava. It's always white. All the day it has streaks of red. But at that moment, there are no streaks of red. The Gemara tells us a story. There was a sectarian who was in the neighborhood of Rabbi Shua ben Levi. He was harassing him. Yom Achada, so Rabbi Shua ben Levi had enough. Nakatan Golta. He took the rooster arm away. The other way, the Kara, he tied the rooster to its legs. Maybe he tied to the legs of the bed, or maybe he tied the rooster up so it couldn't move. But Osif, and he put it there. Amar Kimata Uishata Iltaye. He says, when that moment of God's anger comes, I'm going to curse my adversary. Kimata Ushaita Nimna. But when that moment came, he fell asleep. Amar Shmamino Avorachara. Says, oh, it's not appropriate. Tachsiv Gam Eno Shel Tzadik Lo Tov. So the Gemara says, so he says, I feel b'mini lo ba'olam. Even to a sectarian, I shouldn't say a curse. Tana mishmei de Rebbe Meir b'shas she'acham azorachas v'malacham manichin kasreim al-Hashem b'shtachim l'chama miyad bois. When is the moment of God's wrath in the world? It's the moment where the sun rises and the kings begin to put the crowns on their heads and bow down to the sun. That's when God gets upset, because the kings of the world are not recognizing God. They're recognizing the sun as the king. And obviously the sun is not the king. Boam arose in the morning and saddled his donkey. Tana Mishimar Mishim ben Elazar, Ahava mevatela shura shel gedola. Excuse me. Ahava mevatela shura shel gedola. May Avram. How do we know that love cancels out the normal way to act? We learn this out from Avram. Avram woke up early in the morning and saddled his donkey. Stina, hatred also cancels out the wrath. Bilam got up in the morning and saddled his donkey. So it's a question, what exactly is the unusual action? Is the unusual action the waking up early or the saddling of the donkey? Either way. He says the person should always engage in Torah study even without the right reasons, because from studying for the wrong reasons, you'll eventually come study with the right reasons. Because in the merit of the 42 sacrifices that Balak slaughtered, then he merited that Ruth would depart from him. Amar Rav Yossi bar Huna, Ruth Bito Shel Egon, meaning to say, when Bilam brought these 42 sacrifices, he was trying to curse the Jewish people, but in the end, he blessed them, and so those sacrifices were to his merit that he became, that Balak brought, he merited to have Ruth descend from him. Amar Rav Yossi bar Huna, Ruth Bito Shel Egon ben Benot Shel Balak. Ruth was the daughter of Eglon, who was the grandson of Balak, the king of Moab. Amalei Rav Bar Mari, Ksiv Itav Elokim es Shem Shlomo Mishim Chavi Yigdel Yigadel es Kiso Mikisecha. God, that it says in the verse that the servants of David said to David after that his kings, after he commanded that they should anoint Shlomo his son to be the king, it says, Yea, Dave, Elokim, that God should make Shlomo's kingdom even greater than yours. So, is this appropriate to say this to the king? They're saying it should be the same level, not that it's greater. Because we have another verse. It says, Yah will be blessed more than the women of the tent. And Nashim Ba'olmanin. Who are these women? Sarah of Racholea. So Arach Arach Memrach, is it really appropriate to say that Yal is greater than these four matriarchs? That only income that she should be blessed like them. It means that it be blessed like him. But Pligi de Rav Yossi Barchoni, then Rav Yossi Barchoni says, no, actually, they could say it to David because Beko Adam Miskana, no, everybody's jealous of everybody else except for his son and his students. So David would not have been jealous. But same alternatively, that you could say there's a different source for this idea. Vihina Pishnayim Brucha Elai. That Elisha told yo to give me double what you have. By the same or third source, Yisroch es Yadav Alav. That Moshe anointed Joshua with both of his hands to give him strength. Anyway, we see from here that it's not a problem for somebody to bless you that your son should be greater than you. And God placed the words in Bilam's mouth, and he says, "Go back to Balak, and thus you should speak." Rabbi Elazar Omer Mal. Rabbi Elazar says it was an angel. Rabbi Yonasan Omer Chaka. He says it was a hook. I'm Rabbi Yochanan Birchasosha Oso Rasha from the blessings that Bilam gave to the Jewish people. Atalo made Maya Beliba. We learn what was in his heart. Bikish Omar Shloyu Batikinesos. He wanted to say you'll have no synagogues but the midrashos. So in response, he said, Matovu Olach Yaakov, how beautiful are your tents, O Jacob. That was a reference to the Bate Knesses and the Bate Midrashos. He wanted that the divine presence should not rest at them. It says in Mishkan Osecha Yisrael. He wanted He wanted to say that your kingdom will not continue. He wanted they will not have olive trees and vineyards. Kiganos aleinar. That your smell should not be beautiful. Kalim Nata Hashem. You won't have tall kings. You'll not have a king passing it on to the next generation. Yizal Mayim Midalyo. That your kingdom will not roll over the nations. So their kingdom will not be strong. Your own Magog Malko. That the nations will not be afraid of the kingdom of Israel. All these blessings that Bilam gave to the Jewish people in the end, they ended up being a curse, like it was the initial intent. With the exception of but the Knesset, except for the synagogues and the but the midrashos. As it states, so everything else turned into a curse except for this. This curse turned into a blessing, but there was only one curse that turned into a blessing long term. Okay, we'll stop here. Today's Daf Yomi. You had a question, Jeff?
Thank you.
Shkoyach. So, Barak, thank you.